Welcome back to the LGS. Now this is essentially an Ask Me Anything, so if you do have a question that I've either not answered in the last episode or this episode and you want it answered in the next episode, get it in the comment section of this one. Once we have enough comments, I will then make another video. It'll probably be a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks, depends how quick the comment section fills up. So get them in and I'll get them answered. It could be anything from video games to running to football to, I don't know, whatever, conspiracy theories, who knows. So let's get into the first question. These are all blind. I've not looked at the comment section because it's more fun that way. I do run into a few issues here or there when someone asks me a question and I have to try and think of an answer because I'm trying to think of a particular game or something, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm sure that will happen. Top 3 music artists / bands is the first comment. Now, luckily, yesterday I had my Spotify Wrapped, so I don't even need to think about this. My top artist of 2023 was Falling in Reverse. Not that they actually release that much music anymore. I think in 2023 they probably released like 2, maybe 3 songs. They don't do albums anymore. He said, the lead singer Ronnie, he said he doesn't do albums anymore because they just don't do well. He puts all his effort into one music video and one song and releases that, and it does unbelievably well, and it's a model that's working really, really well for him. So that's number 1. I think second was Slipknot, which is absolutely no surprise to me whatsoever, and third was Blink. And I'm so predictable that I was about to look at my Wrapped and I went to my wife, what do you think my top 3 are going to be? She said Falling in Reverse, Slipknot and Blink in that order. And yeah, there it is. I was really disappointed with the amount of time I'd listened to Spotify this year, if I'm honest. It said like 6,000 and something minutes, which I thought was it was going to be much higher than that. I see a lot of people on X or Twitter or whatever it's called these days, and their minutes were, they were in the hundreds of thousands, and I thought, wow, I'm an amateur compared to some people. But at the same time, I think I only really listen to Spotify when I'm running, so got a watch with Spotify app on it, and I make playlists and I download them to my watch, and that's pretty much not the only time I ever listen to. Speaking of my watch, it's not the only time I listen to it, but at the same time, that's when I listen to it the most, right? I do listen to it in the house every now and again, but not that often. So yeah, I don't know, is it worth me paying for Spotify Premium if I'm only listening to it for that long? But those are my top 3 bands and artists. Next question, if you could have 3 dinner guests, round dead or alive, who would it be? I never really liked this question. I don't get it like every day or anything, but I have had it before, and I never know the answer. I think about it too much, and I'm thinking, I'd like to have him, I'd like to have her, I'd like to have... But then at the same time, I'm thinking, right, I'm in this situation. I've got a football player, I've got a Hollywood actor, and I've got a scientist there. They're not going to have anything to talk about, and I'm going to be having to try and get them all to have a discussion about something. I think about it too much. But I suppose if I had to choose, I will always choose this person when asked a lot of questions about football or famous people. So Jari Litmanen, favourite football player of all time, he would have to be there because at one point in my life I would very much like to meet him. I've got no questions for him whatsoever. I wouldn't know what to say. I would just be staring at him. He would think I was weird. He'd get a restraining order and that would be the end of it. But he would have to be there. I think Walt Disney, I'd just like to have a conversation with him because what he has done in terms of theme parks is just, unreal. Like the vision that he had for Disney when there was nothing else like that in the world. It's like the person who invented the wheel. How did they think, I know, that round thing is going to move and it's going to help me do this and that and this. And it's just crazy. A theme park seems like such a simple premise, but when they didn't exist, how did someone think about mad? So yeah, Jari Litmanen and Walt Disney, that is just strange in itself. And I genuinely don't know about the third one. I think Corey Taylor is a really interesting person, so maybe Corey Taylor. Why not? Let's just chuck him in there. I think Jim Carrey would be too much. I think I'd be like, calm down. Do you ever think you'll ever do a Football Manager series? Feels like a bit niche of a video series that could do well and you might enjoy it. I have tried to do it in the past on this channel when it was FIFA and it was the end of the FIFA life cycle and it was dying down and the views weren't there. I thought, you know what? Let's just do Football Manager. It's football related. How different can it be? And yeah, it bombed. To be honest, I've done Football Manager on and off on this channel, on my Twitch channel that I do not touch anymore. I've done it a lot over the years. I used to stream it every day for a good 6 months, and it just never took off for me. And I know there's a lot of Football Manager YouTubers out there, Tom FM, Zealand, Dr. Benji, and I mean, list goes on, right? But they get good views and they are fun to watch, and it's not necessarily a series that will do well. It's I put Ronaldo in Barcelona and I put Messi in Real Madrid, and this is how they got on. You know, those type of experiment videos, those are the ones that I enjoy watching, because it's just interesting to see what would happen, even though it's not real life, but at the same time you could kind of look at it from that point of view. And I have been tempted to maybe try and do that, but at the same time, I don't know, I think I just prefer to play it by myself and enjoy me playing it, sort of thing. I do love Football Manager. I just don't think it's not one of those things you can watch anyone play. You have to be watching a specific person who has that personality, who you can sort of enjoy watching, even if you're not really looking too much at the content, I guess, in a way. What do you think about the sealed collecting market? Is it something you'd ever be interested in getting into? I've always thought yes, but I'm so conflicted about it. I cannot make up my mind how I feel about collecting sealed games. So I've got a few in my collection, right? I've got a couple of sealed Switch games. I've got Halo 3 on the 360 that's sealed, and there's a few others dotted around the place. And my most recent video was my Black Friday pickups, and I picked up, spoiler alert, Star Trek, which arrived sealed, and Stray, which also arrived sealed. I opened Star Trek straight away because I really, really wanted to play it, and I've been really enjoying it. I think I'm about 60-something% of the way through, according to PlayStation right now. Really enjoying it. Couple of issues, but maybe talk about them in another video. Stray, do want to play it, still sealed. I have one of those things where I will want to play it at some point, and I will need to open it, but I do find it difficult to open things that are sealed. I have that, I don't, there must be a word for it or whatever, but I've got a TV downstairs that I've had for, my wife said it the other day, that TV, it just popped up, that TV is blah 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 years old, because I remember she was like, however many years ago today I was in blah blah blah, she was at a gig, and I texted her and I said, I've just bought a new TV, because it was like a really, really good deal. I had money off it and we needed a new TV, and I bought it. And it was quite a long time ago. It might have been like 5 years ago, whatever. Either way, right, it still has the protective film on the feet and on the underside of it. And I think there's one maybe around the outside as well. I can't take those off. I know a lot of people love peeling things off screens and stuff. I hate doing it. I would rather leave it on, because then it protects it, right? And my dad once said to me, why don't you take that off? It looks grubby with it on. Take it off. It's meant to be taken off. And I'm like, no, because then it will devalue it. Because when I go to sell it in the future, it'll be in really nice condition and someone will pay me a premium for it. I'm always thinking about that. I don't know why. I'm sad. And he looked at me stupid and he was like, no, they won't. And they did, because the other TV that we had, I sold, and I got top dollar for it, for what it was worth, because it was in such good condition, because it still had the protective thing on it, right? And you can make out that you've not really used it that much then as well, which I did, and they bought it, literally. So, yeah, what was the question? Sealed games. It's one of those things, I definitely see why people do it, but at the same time, if you then want to play that game, you've got to buy another copy of it, or you've got to buy it digital, and it's just like, you know, I don't really know where I stand on it. I think I probably will look to pick up some sealed games in the future, but it'll be by accident. I'll buy them in a bundle, it'll arrive, one of them will be sealed, I'll put it in the collection, and it'll remain sealed, maybe forever. But I don't really see myself ever going, right, I'm going to start a sealed collection. Maybe. I know I'm going to flip-flop on this. There is a running question here, which I know a lot of people are not going to like, but I absolutely love running with a passion, and it is 1:05 at the moment, and in 2 hours' time, I will be out there in -1 degree weather, which is what my PC is telling me it is right now, running like an idiot. So I'm going to answer it, and I'm going to go into as much detail as I need to. Hi, and they've tried to spell my name. They've spelt it incorrectly. They've put it in brackets. Hope I got that right. You did not, but I'll let you off. Love your videos. Thank you very much. There's been tons of great CEX training advice in here. Keeping it up, please. Just wanted to let you know. No, just wanted to know. There you go. Your 10K time. And what running shoes do you use, and how often do you replace them? Is it supposed to be every 500 miles? So my 10K time isn't, I don't think it's anything special, but at the same time, I don't actually know my exact 10K time because it's not my discipline. I am more of a 5K person. So I've said about this before, I'm not going to dwell on it, right? I used to, back when I was like, between the ages of around 14 to 18, 19, I used to do 100 meters, 200 meters, and 400 meters was my absolute, I wouldn't say it was my favorite discipline because it was the hardest. And if you ask anyone who's ever done a 400 meters competitively, if you ask anyone what is the hardest discipline to do, I'm pretty sure most of them will say 400 meters because it's a sprint, but it's not a sprint, but it is a sprint. You cannot sprint for 400 meters unless your name is Michael Johnson. It's just not possible. But you have to go as fast as you can possibly go without burning out. It's such a hard discipline to do. But either way, my point is, I like running fast. And the 5K distance is the shortest distance off a track that you can do fast, if that makes sense, I guess. So I say off a track. I guess you could run it on a track. But either way, my point is 5K is my discipline. I do that in 20 minutes and 7 seconds, or at least that's what my PB is. It's not amazing to most, I'm sure. It would be better than a lot of people, but I'm really happy with that, and I'm not gonna belittle myself for it. I'm really, really happy with it. It's equivalent of running 6 minutes and 25 seconds per mile for just over 3 miles. So I'm really happy about that. 10K wise, it's around 46, 47 minutes, but I've never deliberately gone, right, I'm going out for a PB today. I'm going to run 10K as fast as I can. I've only ever done it, not by accident, I guess, but like I've only ever done it by doing a 5K and then doing a warm-up, warm-down after, or trying to do like a longer session, and I've gone 10K and it's been fairly quick. So I think at the moment it's around 46 and a half, 47-ish. But if I really, really tried to do a 10K as fast as I can, I think I could get that down a good couple of minutes. I'd have to train for it a little bit, but I think I could get that closer to 41, 42, I think. I hope, anyway. And in terms of what running shoes do I use, I'm going to have to put a cut in the video. I've gone through a fair few pairs over the years, but I've only got 3 pairs currently in rotation. These are the ones that I bought first, and I've had these for a good few years. These are the Tri-Noosa 13s. They're a triathlon shoe, so I would say not one that I would recommend. They're on the 15 now, I think, which looks pretty cool. They look very, very similar to this. These are almost gone. The grip is almost dead in them, and there's not really much give left in them anymore. Like the foam has gone. But I still wear them every now and again because they are still quite comfy. If it's dry out, which it is today, I may very well wear them. But yeah, I bought them because they were cheap. I went to an ASICS outlet and they were cheap, and I just bought them because, you know, they were cheap. But they've done me really, really well. And if you watch someone like Ben Parks, for example, he actually tried out those and said that they were surprisingly good, and he would potentially put them into his rotation. So there's got to be something in it because he runs a marathon in 2:25, apparently. So next one, Brooks Hyperion Tempo. These ones I use for speed work. These are on their way out as well now. Bought these over a year ago. The heel is going on them as well. They weren't cheap. I think they were like 120 quid. They've done me proud, I guess. I did my 5k PB in these. These are a very, very lightweight shoe. But again, I've done much, much less. Far less than 500 miles in these. And I wouldn't say that they're going, but I definitely feel less spring in these than I did when I first had them. So it won't be long before I have to replace those. And then just before I went to Disney, I wanted a pair of shoes to wear around the parks. I was going to be doing 25, 30,000 steps a day. I needed my feet to be as comfortable as possible. And I bought these. And I didn't buy them just for walking around Disney, obviously. I bought them because I knew I'd be able to run in them and run in them well. This is the Nova Blast 3. Had these on a deal. I think you can get them even cheaper now because they've just brought out Nova Blast 4. But these, walking around the parks, honestly, I was floating the entire time. It was so good. If you go to Disney, by the way, and you think I'm weird for wearing these, if you go to Disney, you will not find anyone walking around that park who doesn't have a pair of running shoes on. And you, like 95% of them have never run a day in their life, but they're all walking around in Brooks, in New Balance. Hoka is a massive one. They must be millions on people just walking around theme parks buying running shoes. It's crazy. But I've done far less than 500 miles in these, but they still feel phenomenal. They feel really good, even though I can see that the grip is actually going on the bottom of these, which is not ideal. But anyway, enough talk about that. It does massively depend on what shoe you buy when it comes to that 500-mile rule. I mean, a rule of thumb, yeah, possibly, but you'll know once they've gone. You'll start to feel them slipping. When you're out and you're thinking, oh, God, the grip's not quite there anymore. They don't really have that sort of, the bounce as going a little bit. You don't feel as quick in them, possibly. So you'll know when you need to buy a new pair. Thoughts of Knight's contract price on the Xbox 360. A very specific game that I can't say I've ever heard of in my life, so I will make a quick cut, have a little look, and then get back to you. So I'm not really sure what the question is meant to sort of, I don't know, be, I guess. It's not an expensive game. I've never seen it before. I know absolutely nothing about it whatsoever, but you can get it for like 15 quid on eBay, which for a 360 game is about standard. So I don't really have any thoughts on it. If you've ever played Knight's contract on the 360, let me know what you think of it, and do you think it's a game I should maybe look into, because I've never heard of it. I don't know anything about it whatsoever. I've read the name Madeline McCann. I'm not going to shy away from it. Let's get into it. Also a question. What's your detailed opinion on what you think happened to Madeline McCann? Now, I could sit here and talk about this for quite a while because I do have a lot of thoughts on it. I think it happened in 2008. And, I mean, how the parents have never been held accountable for negligence is beyond me. Whether they were the ones responsible for her disappearance, death, whatever it may be, is not irrelevant, but let's just put a pin in that for a second. The fact that they left their children in a hotel room and went to dinner out of not called out on it, because they have been called out, but they've not been held accountable for that. If I did that, not that I have kids, but if I had kids and I did that, it is negligence, right? You'd get done for that. So I don't understand how they've not been done for that. But without going into massive detail and upsetting anyone, 100% their fault, whether it was intentional or not, and they should definitely be held accountable, because I don't understand how you can look at it from any other angle. It just blows my mind. So, do you do a video confronting the CEX worker who blanks you? Now, I wouldn't, going back to this question, so I went into a CEX, it was a while ago now, and it was my local CEX, and I used to work with one of the boys behind the counter. I used to work with him in Game Station, known him for years, and didn't leave on bad terms or anything. Never, I wouldn't say never had a cross word with him, but we were always friends, always hanging out together, going to the cinema and doing game nights and stuff. And when I walked into this CEX and he was there behind the till, I knew he saw me, and I didn't make any attempt to blank him or anything. I looked over in his direction a few times just to give him a little nod and be like, all right, I wasn't actually planning on having a conversation with him. If he talked to me, I would have talked to him, and it would have been civil and everything, because like I said, we hadn't spoken for a while, but we left things in pretty good, stead, if you will. But he didn't look at me once. He would not look in my direction, and I've got no idea why. I don't care, but at the same time, I don't know why. So the question is more of a demand. Do a video of you confronting him. I won't be doing that because I've not seen him since. And I've actually been to what I thought was the store he worked in a few times, and I've not seen him in there either, so I don't even know if he still works for them. But not really my channel to be, to be walking up to people and be like, why did you blank me, with a phone in my hand recording him, sort of thing. Plus, it's not that deep because I really don't care. Not a question as such, says High Noon, but I'm watching this whilst being naked. Pre-shower. Well, good to know. Little do you know that I'm naked from the waist. I'm not. Let's move on. What game do you most regret trading/selling? I knew it was coming. So this is a question that I wish I had sort of pre-prepared for, because then I would actually be able to give you a better answer. So, is there a game I ever regret trading in or selling? To be honest, off the top of my head, the only thing I can really think of, and I'm sure that there are others, but the one that really does stand out to me is, I think it was, I'm going to mess up the name, I think it was Turrican on the Mega Drive, I think. So, spoken about this before, it's in a series video as well. I went on Vinted and I saw a Mega Drive bundle, 35 quid for Mega Drive 2 and a fair few games. It was like 14 games, I think. £35. Snapped it up straight away, fully expected it not to turn up, and if it was going to turn up, I thought it would all be just trashed, right? Turned up, well packaged, promptly delivered, pretty good condition. The manual to Michael Jackson was the only thing that I was like, what the hell has happened here? Still have that. Front cover has been like sellotape back on, it's messed up. But either way, the point is, I needed to recover the money. We'd spent £35. I needed to then make that back somehow. So I didn't just sell one of the games. I think I sold a few of the games that I didn't really want. I think it came with Toki, which I got rid of. And it came with a couple of other games that I wasn't really that bothered by. So I sold them or traded them in. Turrican was one of them, and it was worth a lot at the time. I think it was worth like 60, 70 quid. And I sold it. So not only did I make my money back, I actually made a profit, and I got to keep Michael Jackson, Hellfire, and there was a few others as well. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what games came in it. I'm looking at my collection. I can't really remember what games were part of it and were not part of it. But either way, it was a really good deal. But I really wish I'd kept that game. That's the only one that stands out to me. I don't regret trading anything in, I don't think. Maybe I do. I don't think I do. Have you ever met a footballer in public? He says, I met Alan Hutton at a leisure centre when he was playing for Rangers. I don't even know if I've ever met a football player. Like, you'd think that would be something that stands out in my mind if I had done. I don't think I've ever met a football player. Not one that plays for like my local team or something. You know, someone who plays in the Premier League or has ever played in the Premier League or Championship or, like a top team. I don't think I've ever met one, really. So, not only have I not met a football player in public, I've never met a football player, I don't think. Second question, if you were to build a five-a-side team, one goalkeeper, one defender, two midfielders, one attacker, from any era, but you can only pick one player from each of the UK nations and Republic of Ireland, what would your team be? So, I half understand the question. So, am I having to... I mean, you can't answer, so I don't know why I'm asking. But do I have to pick one English, Scottish, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Welsh player? Or is it just that I can pick German, Brazilians, Argentinians, but I can only pick one of each home nation? Because if that's the case, I can't think of any... I suppose... like a Northern Irish player, that's the hardest one, right? Because not that they've never had good players, because they do have some good players, and they have had some good players in the past. But the only one I can think of that I would put anywhere near my team would be George Best, and that's because, and it's literally only because, it's the only one I can think of that is, or was, proper good. I can't really think of many more. So if I'm doing the home nations... it's gonna be really difficult, because like my attacker is gonna have to be George Best, my midfielders are gonna have to be Steven Gerrard, and an Irish player that I can't I just can't think of one that I would want to put there. And then my defender is going to have to be someone like Colin Hendry from Scotland. And then my goalkeeper is going to have to be either Irish. Okay, Shay Given in goal, Colin Hendry in defence, Steven Gerrard, and am I allowed to pick Gareth Bale as a midfielder? Surely I am, right? Surely he's going to be a midfielder. Let's do Gareth Bale. And then up front is George Best. If I could choose anyone from any nation, in goal would be Manuel Neuer, because he was just so good with his feet, and still is, probably. The defender, it's a bit of a tricky one. I'd probably go Maldini, if I'm honest. Maybe that's not a five-a-side player, though. Maybe someone like Roberto Carlos would be better. And then midfielder-wise, looking at Gerrard again, I'd probably pick him all the time. And I would probably go with Kaká, if I'm honest, in midfield. And then as my attacker, I mean, you can literally choose anyone here. You can choose Ronaldinho, Neymar, Ronaldo, Messi, Ronaldo. There's just so many. I'd go with Ronaldinho though, just because he'd make it look effortless. But I don't know if I did that right or wrong. More football questions. Not that it bothers me. Love football, but if you're not into football, you probably find this very boring. Who are your top 3 Liverpool players of all time? Do you ever get a chance to go to Anfield? Have been in the past, many a time. Been to a few away games as well. But if you ever tried to get tickets for Liverpool these days, honestly, unless you're a season ticket holder or know a season ticket holder, I genuinely don't know how you get tickets. I've given up this season. I haven't looked at all, right? I've had too many things to pay out for. I wouldn't be able to afford them because, again, they're not cheap. If I go and look on like a reselling website, I can find them, but they're not cheap. They're hundreds, right? If you want to buy them directly from the club, if you will, you just can't get them. There's never an option. There's no general sale. They just go immediately. And it's almost impossible. I don't understand how people do it. It's crazy. Like, to be a season ticket holder at Anfield is something that I've always wanted. And I would be more than happy to shell out the £1,000+ to do it. The waiting list to get a season ticket is like 90 years. And that's not exaggeration. That is genuinely what it is. So in order for me to be able to get up to Anfield to watch a game, I don't know how I'm ever going to do it. I really don't, and it does depress me somewhat. In terms of my top 3 Liverpool players of all time, Jari Litmanen has to be there, which is weird to a lot of people, and I understand why, right? He played no more than 50 games. I think he only played like 30 games, maybe 40 at a push. So the fact that he was only there for like 1.5 seasons, and he's my favourite Liverpool player of all time, he's just my favourite player of all time, and therefore has to be my favourite Liverpool player of all time. It just goes hand in hand. Plus, I actually watched his debut when we were away to Villa, at Villa Park. I was at that game, and he made his debut. I don't think he got a goal contribution of any kind, but he did play in that game. So I don't know, just a little bit of everything going in there. So he's definitely my favourite. Steven Gerrard has to go on the list, right? He's number 2. And then in terms of the third player, honestly, I can't decide between quite a number of them. So John Arnorisa, absolutely love him. Had a hairdresser that looked just like him. Used to call him Risa. Not that that has any relevance to anything. Just thought I'd mention it. He's there. Robbie Fowler's there. The memories that Robbie Fowler's given me over the years, just phenomenal. Believe it or not, Luis Suarez has to go there, right? Because he honestly, and I know I would say he's underrated, but he's not, because people do know how good he was. But he was so good for Liverpool. Unbelievably good. I'd like to put him there, kind of. Fernando Torres would go there, but I don't know, him going to Chelsea does leave a bitter taste in my mouth. I've got a lot of players like that. Like, I can't stand Michael Owen. Hate him, almost. It's not hate, it's not quite hate, but I don't like him. And in terms of him as a football player, him going to Man United first and foremost, and yeah, I don't know, he would never be anywhere near it. But in terms of top 3, Martin Skrtel definitely deserves a shout. Love Martin Skrtel. Love Xabi Alonso as well. There's so many players I could put in that third spot, so I'm not going to give you an answer. But yeah. Great video, very different but entertaining nonetheless. Thank you very much. But you're forgetting the mighty Man United will finish in the top 4. Let's move on, shall we? I know this person. I used to work with him in Game Station, so I imagine that question is going to be about... It is. So, who are you on about? Ignoring you, because the only me and P, which is the first letter of the person who blanked me's name, ended up working for CEX. I don't even think I knew you worked for CEX. And he left CEX over a year ago now, so I'm dead curious who was ignoring you. Also blame Game for the extended warranties. It was when they took over, we ended up having to do dodgy sales. So yes, it was P, who you'll be the only person watching this video who knows who I'm talking about. P was the one who ignored me, but like I said, I don't really care. It was just something that happened and I mentioned it, right? So yeah, when it comes to extended warranties, I talked about this before in the last video. When I worked in Game Station, we had some unethical practices, right? So it was toward my last few months at the company, and we got given extended warranties to push on to customers, and we had sales targets to hit, and then we would get chewed out if we didn't meet those sales targets. I don't remember off the top of my head what the sort of the punishment was necessarily. I can't remember whether it was actually like disciplinary, but honestly, those type of things were mentioned. You know, you were going to get it was like a report almost. If you didn't hit your target, you'd get warned once, and then if you were warned twice, you were on your final strike. It was that bad, to the point where people were really worrying about not being able to sell these extended warranties. Now, luckily for me, I don't know what it was. I had some sort of spiel on the go, and I had my script in my head, and it did work quite often, right? I did manage to get a fair few. So I was never really in danger, if you will. But with that being said, there's a lot of dodgy practices, and I used to really work the system in my favour in order to get these sold. And it wasn't me conning the customer, it was me conning the company. I would be trading in games that didn't exist in order to get the credit to be able to buy the warranty to put onto the customer's receipt at no expense to the customer. Game Station were paying for the warranty that they were forcing me to put onto this customer. So I thought, you know what? No. I want to get a warranty next to my name. I want to be known as the top seller, sure. But at the same time, this isn't ethical. I'm going to give them a warranty for free, and Game Station are going to pay for it. Now, I didn't do that for every customer. I did it for the odd customer here or there. If I was struggling for a warranty that day and I hadn't got one, this person's getting one, and I'm going to look good at the end of the day. Fiddle the numbers, no one's going to know. Hopefully the customer won't look at the receipt. Happy days. And that's exactly what I did. Sue me. You can't, because the company doesn't exist anymore. Happy days. Let's move on. When buying stuff to flip, to then have the funds to buy for CEX credit, think outside the box, not just video games and DVDs. There is so much stuff worth picking up. From mugs to soft toys, all old digital cameras have been flying out for me lately. The old saying, there is money in old rope. Absolutely. I do not just deal in video games and DVDs. Trainers are gold, right? People will go to boot sales. They've worn these, pair of Vans once or something, right? It's got a couple of scuffs on them. You can tell they've been worn, but they are in really good condition. They'll chuck them on the floor. I pick them up. How much? Oh, £2. Yes, please. Go home, sell them for 30. Literally the very same day. And it happens every single boot sale. You will go to a car boot and you will find a pair of trainers for £5 or less that are in pretty good condition that you can sell for 25, 30 quid the same day. Every single time without fail. And that's just trainers, right? I buy and sell anything and everything I can. But when it comes to the videos, people, for some reason, they have this notion that I have to be buying and selling video game related items in order to be buying video games. I don't know why, but I go back to the time I found a monitor in a charity shop. And I walk in and I see the monitor there, 20 quid, and I know instantly that monitor's worth more than 20 quid. Modern design, very, very thin to no bezel, and I look on the back, look at the model number, and I can already see that this is a 4K monitor, 20 quid. Insane. Look it up and it's worth like 100 and whatever. So I bought it and I incorporated it into the series. bought this for 20 quid, sold it for 120, making, £100 profit minus fees and stuff. But fair few people say, I bet you didn't go back into the charity shop and give them more money, which is the dullest thing I've ever seen in my life. No, I didn't go, because they had every opportunity to research this item before they put it out on sale. They just slapped 20 quid on it. If they were happy to get 20 quid, then I'm happy to give them 20 quid. Why am I giving them more money when they could have slapped more? If they put 50 quid on it, I still would have bought it, right? So they could have done their research. They didn't. Their fault, not mine. They still got money. They were happy to take it. Everyone's a winner. They've conned me a few times, to be fair to them, but that's by the by. But the other people were saying that this isn't video game related. And I'm like, well, you've got to play your games on something, right? But yeah, there was a lot of people, believe it or not. It wasn't just like one or two. It was a good, 6, 7, 10 people who were saying this isn't video game related. Like it has to be. So I try to stick to video game related items in the series because people get uppity about it. I don't know why, but if I go over to Facebook, you're not going to be able to see this. And I don't know what game is playing in the background, by the way. It is something. I haven't played it yet, so yeah, it'll be something. If I go over to Facebook and have a look at these deals people are trying to move on, right? So Doom Xbox One Collector's Edition went up today, £100 used. Figure is out. It's not wrapped up or anything. 100 quid. I've got no idea off the top of my head if that's worth £100 or not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, it's not. It might be. It might be a £200 figure. I really don't know. But used and out of the box, £100 seems excessive, right? And then someone is trying to sell an Xbox Series X. Good console. I want one. Out of the box, with a controller, no games, with a skin on it, which means I'm going to be peeling that off, and it's going to be sticky residue on the back of it. I'm going to have to clean it up. It might even be marked. They want £420 for it. I don't know. Let me click it, because I haven't actually clicked it. Sold, it said. Wow. Used ones, wanting another PS5. Got the controller, comes with a docking station. So I'm looking at the pictures. Oh, it does come with games, my bad. Battlefield 1. 2 copies of Call of Duty World War II. And Star Wars Battlefront, I think, if the case is messed up. But yeah, no box. Skin on the console, £420. I can go on Amazon right now and buy one cheaper than that, brand new with a warranty. Not an extended warranty, but still, that's sold, believe it. I can't believe that's sold. But either way, people are asking stupid money for things. So I'm going to need, I think, to make a video, explain to people that I will try and stick to video games and that type of thing as much as I can. But I'm going to be branching out to try and get some profit in this series, and I'm going to be showing you the stuff that I'm buying and selling going forward, because it just... You can do it, but it's so slow to be able to make profit from buying and selling video games and consoles and stuff that it just makes far more sense to branch out. And the best way to branch out is to watch others do it, right? So I know that football shirts are worth money because I've seen people buy and sell football shirts. I know mugs are worth money because I've seen other people in other videos buy and sell mugs, and I know that Starbucks mugs go for a particularly lot of money, especially if you buy ones from specific towns. They go for even more money, and it's only through watching other people's videos I know that. So I think people will learn from it, and then they'll be able to incorporate it into their stuff. So yeah, absolutely going to have to start doing that, because it's just the way it is. People just want too much for their stuff these days. What's the easiest console to collect for, and what advice would you give someone who is starting to collect? It's one of those questions that has 2 answers. I probably has more than 2, but in terms of the easiest console to collect for, financially, from that aspect, the cheapest console to collect for, that you can get a sizable collection, is the Xbox 360, because a lot of the games are not expensive. I know you can't really see the collection because I have a Ajax Jari Litmanen, ironically, jumper hanging there, but I have a lot of 360 games, and they haven't, technically speaking, they've cost me nothing, but they haven't individually cost me that much because they are cheap games. So I think the most expensive game on the 360, or one of them, is £50 odd, and a lot of them are under. If you go on CEX and sort by price and you go high to low, most of the games are low. Most of the games are under 40, 50 quid. So that is definitely the easiest to collect for in terms of how many games you can get for your money. But what I would say is the easiest console to collect for is the one that you are most passionate about, because it's the one that you will go above and beyond for. It's the one that you love collecting for. Now, I'm sure if you collect for every console, you'll be enjoying it, and whatever console you collect for, if you're into collecting, you will be enjoying yourself. But if it's the console that you have the most nostalgia for, or that you loved the most growing up playing, or you love the most now, the one that you just love the biggest amount of games on for, whatever, is the one that you'll enjoy collecting for, and the one that you will go out and out of your way to try and get these games. And that's why 360 for me, it's twofold. You know, it's the cheapest, but it's also the one that I love the most. So I'm lucky in that sense, because if you're a DS fan, for example, or I don't know, PS Vita, I'm sorry first and foremost, but it's going to be very difficult for you to build a sizable collection because they're just that expensive. But at the same time, if you love it that much, you will find a way. So, yeah, that's the best I can do there. Great video. Are you still thinking about buying an original Xbox? I am, but I'm not going to go out of my way to find one. If I see one pop up on Facebook, Vinted, eBay, Car Boot, whatever, and it's cheap, yeah, I'll pick it up. Why not? I've seen a fair few in Car Boot sales over the years, but I've never seen a complete one. It's always just console only, and I've never had one, so it's not really willing. I'm not really willing to take the risk on something like that. Like, okay, it might be cheap or whatever, but I'd have to go try and find a controller, which these days are actually fairly expensive, and then the wires to go with it, and not knowing like the signs to look out for. Like with the 360, for example, I know what models to avoid and what ones to go after because of my experiences with them. But when it comes to the original Xbox, I don't know anything about it at all. So there could be a telltale sign as that isn't working. I wouldn't know. So I will pick one up eventually, but I'm not in any rush to do so. So, yeah. What does TVM stand for? These days, honestly, it's just a name. It used to be just 3 letters, but TVM is what I've gone by on the internet for well over 10 years at this point. It's actually approaching 15 years since I actually made that name, I guess. And it's just a name these days. It doesn't actually stand for anything whatsoever. It's just TVM, that as if it's a name, you know? I don't know how best to describe it other than that. So, how much money do you make off YouTube? Wouldn't you like to know? Yes, that's why he asked the question, I suppose. I'm more than happy to answer the majority of questions. That, on the other hand, is for my accountant and HMRC's eyes only, unfortunately. So I will say that October, November, December, definitely the best months to be a YouTuber. And if you're in the FIFA industry, it's never a good time to be a YouTuber, because the ad revenue you get for being a FIFA YouTuber is... it's just embarrassing. It's so bad. It is so bad. I don't know, honestly, I don't know how anyone, and I say that as if I wasn't one of those people, don't know how anyone who gets less than 10,000 views a video on a FIFA video actually makes a living from it. And it might be better these days, I really don't know, but back when I was doing it, the CPMs, I mean, that's how much money you get paid per 1,000 views, essentially. It's not, but it is. It used to be like... Mine used to be £2-3. I think during the Christmas time period, it went up to about 5 or 6. And I was like, oh, look at me, balling £5-6 per 1,000 views. Insane. But then January would roll around, and all the way through the summer, back to that sort of Christmas time, it would be hovering between 1 sometimes and 3, maybe 4 at a push. So how, I mean, okay, the bigger you are, the more draw you have, the higher CPM you're going to have, right? But it's so bad in FIFA. So bad. It might be other video games are the same as well, but obviously I only ever did FIFA, so I only know about that. But it is so bad. Yeah. I think one of the final questions. So, Game in Newport is now closed. I went on the weekend and the shutters were down. So... Newport is my closest city. If you've ever been there, you will be really wondering how it's called a city, but it is. It's one of the only places I can think of, or could think of, that had an independent game store separate from Sports Direct. They'd all been chucked in the corner of Sports Direct to gather dust and be forgotten about. This one was its own thing in Newport. And apparently it's gone. I haven't been there in a while because there's no reason for me to ever go there. But apparently it's not there anymore. I would imagine that they've just chucked it inside the Sports Direct that's there. But that is sad times. Now, the only one I can think of, literally the only game I can think of that has its own store is Bristol. Maybe, I think. They actually have their own like gaming lab thing there as well. I don't know whether it's called lab. I don't know why that came to mind. You can go in there and like play video games in the store. It's behind the till. Never been there. You can smell it, but you've never been in there. But yeah, I think that's the only one I can think of. I can't think of any other place that has a game store that isn't in a Sports Direct. I think, is it Bristol? Yeah, it is Bristol, I'm thinking, because Swindon is in Sports Direct as well. So, yeah, it's sad to see them go like that, and it frustrates me because they've got so much potential to be. They could be CEX, but also have new games. Like they could. Like, I love CEX, right? I really do, and I don't want them to go anywhere. And okay, they rile me up the wrong way now and again with certain things that they do, etc. But on the whole, love it, right? Love going in there, love having a little look around, love the fact that I can go online, see how much my games trade in for, and see how much I can buy them for, what they have in stock, etc. Love it all. Game could have had all of that and more, because they sell new, which people need. You need new games, right? They could also have the retro stuff, which they ditched very early on, which was a mistake. They tried to move into phones and tablets, which was not a mistake, but they pushed too hard on that side of things. And it's just, I could sit here for days, like literally days, and talk about the mistakes that Game made and what they could have done to make it better. Not a businessman by any stretch of the imagination. CEX absolutely must be making money because they are still open in stores and they are everywhere. You can go 5 miles down the road and walk into a CEX. You could go another 5 miles beyond that and find another CEX. They're almost like McDonald's at this point. They are everywhere. Game needed to follow that type of business model while having new products, and they would have been the beacon of video games on the high street. I would have go there all the time. They offer no money for trade-in, almost. They got rid of retro. Their new prices are, I mean, fine to be fair. I do like their 3 for 2, so that's not a problem. But then they were pushing too much on the board games, the plushes, the mobile phones and the tablets. No one cares about any of that stuff. I mean, have it there, sure. Have it as an option. It's a pull for some people, and it's nice to have. But your main focus should have been video games, and trade prices were the biggest killer, I think. So yeah, it's so sad to see them, and they're not gone, but it is sad to see them go from the high street, if you will. We need someone. We need a retailer to come in now who sells video games. Even if it's someone like HMV who starts stocking them again, I need to be able to walk into town and be able to buy a brand new video game that doesn't come from Asda that has one bay dedicated to video games. It has to be a store that is dedicated to new video games. And it's so frustrating that CEX is the only place I can go, and then I have to pay that inflated price on the brand new game because it is the brand new game and it's second hand. It is very, very frustrating. I think that's going to do it, though. I don't think there are any other questions. If I have missed it, I don't think I have, but if I have done, I do apologise. If you want to get your question answered in the next video, drop it in the comment section of this video. It is quite simple. I will probably have another video out tomorrow as well. It won't be an LGS. It'll be an Xbox related video. And then I will move forward into trying to incorporate some different things into the series. Me buying some trainers and buying some mugs and things, apparently, to see if we can bump up that credit and bump up the profit in the series, and hopefully that goes down well with everyone who doesn't watch the LGS. But if you have enjoyed this, hit the like button. Why not? Drop that comment. And until the next time, goodbye.